Today's chapter is personality and perception. Uh, According to Rich, personality should have external appearance, inner awareness of self, and measurable traits. There are four kinds of personality theories. First is psychoanalytic theory. It tells us that a man is motivated by unseen forces more than rational thought. Now, as per Sigmund Freud, mind has three kind of like innate desires, ego, and superego. Innate desires (id), they are pleasure-seeking activities to do anything and satisfy any internal desires. This can be related to kid. Ego is the conscious mind, is when the conscious, conscious, conscious mind and relative principles keep innate desires in check. This can be seen in parents. Superego is when social and personal norms, ethical constraint, take over conscience, conscience. One's conscience. This can be seen in grandparents. Now, the next theory is socio-psychological theory. Individuals and society are interlinked, also known as non-Freudian theory. Like the Sigmund Freud told that man is motivated by unseen forces more than rational thought, but this tells us that social and psychology individual both are interlinked for social psychological theory. So this is known as Neo-Freudian theory. This is given by Adler, Horney, Foreman, and Sullivan. According to this theory, social variables and non no, social variables are important in determining one's personality, and like biological instincts are not important. Like social variables are more important than biological instincts. Motivation is also conscious. Next is trait theory. This is relatively stable. Tells us that relatively stable characters that can cause individuals to behave in a certain way. For some assumptions are this is common to many individuals and vary in absolute amounts. Traits are relatively stable and exert universal effect regardless of the environment. And traits can be inferred from measurement of behavioral indicators. Trait theory is a quantitative study of personality. Next is self theory, also known as organismic or field theory, given by Carl Rogers. He explained four factors: self image, ideal self, looking glass self, and real self. Okay, so self image, ideal self is understandable. Looking glass self is individual's perception of how others perceive him, and real self is what one individual in reality is. Now, if self image matches with real self, then congruence is high, otherwise, it is incongruent. Now, there are few personality development stages. First is Freudian stages. Freudian stages tell us that there are five stages in personality development with four different sources. The sources are physical growth process, frustration, conflict, and threats. The stages are oral stage, anal stage, phallic stage, latency stage, and genital stage. So, oral stage is basically from birth to 18 months of age when sexual energy is in mouth. So, that is why the children do sucking and oral biting 8 to 18 months. In this, the ego separates from innate desires. Anal stage is 18 months to 3 years. This is sexual energy is in your anal, satisfaction is by doing potty, ego is fully developed. Phallic stage. Phallic stage is 3 years to 7 years. It is uh, sexual energies and genitals of self. They learn to identify and discriminate genitals. Boys lacking for mother occurs in this stage. It is Oedipus complex, and girls lacking their father occurs. It is Electra complex. In this stage, superego develops and people learn their gender roles. Next is latency stage. 7 to 12 years. Sexual energy is dormant in this, and they are more occupied with schoolwork and hobbies. Next is genital stage. It is 12 to 20 years. In this, people are more attracted towards genitals of opposite sex. So, oral, anal, phallic, latency, and genital stage. Now, this Freudian theory tells us that events in our childhood affect our personality. One criticism of this theory is They primarily focus mainly on male development, and this theory is very difficult to test scientifically. Okay, this one is done. This is the next page. So, non-Freudian stages or extreme psychological stages. This gives more attention to social rather than sexual adoption of individual. Okay, yeah. More attention to social rather than sexual adoption of individual, and eight psychosocial stages of personality development is there, and every single person will have a psychosocial crisis. Depending on how you handle that crisis, your personality will be shaped. Now, in the stages of development are oral, sensory, muscular, and anal, locomotor, genital, latency, puberty and adolescence, early adulthood, young and middle adulthood, mature adulthood. So, if in oral sensory, for age group 0 to 1, the crisis will be trust versus mistrust, and you develop hope. Next, muscular and anal, the age group will be 1 to 2 years. The crisis will be autonomy versus doubt, and you develop willpower. Next, in locomotor genital, at the age group of 3 to 5, you the crisis will be initiative versus guilt, and you develop a sense of purpose. Next, in latency, from age group 6 to puberty, the crisis will be industry plus versus inferiority. So you develop competence. Next, puberty and adolescence at age group 12 to 19 years, your crisis will be identity versus confusion. You develop fidelity. Next, in early adulthood, meaning early 20s, the crisis will be intimacy versus isolation. You develop love. Next, in young and middle adulthood, at late 20s, the crisis will be generativity versus stagnation. You develop care. And next, in mature adulthood, at the late in 30s, crisis will be integrity versus despair. You develop wisdom. Now, this young and middle adulthood, meaning the late 20s, where you develop care. This is the most relevant stage from organization perspective. Next is Argyris Immaturity and Maturity Continuum, given by Chris Argyris. In this, personal development is processed along in a continuous breakdown of immaturity situation leading to a maturity situation. Uh, They gave us seven dimensions, okay, and like this theory tells us that very few are fully developed to maturity, and immaturity exists because of organization setting and management practices. So the traits of immaturity to maturity are passive leads to active, dependence leads to independence, behaving in a few ways leads to behaving in many ways, shallow interest leads to deep interest, short-term perspective leads to long-term perspective, subordinate position leads to equal or subordinate, lack of self-awareness leads to control over self-awareness. Now, few of the determinants of personality are like few factors which cause a personality change are biological factors, it can be hereditary or physical features, family and social factors, cultural factors, and situational factors. Okay, okay. So, types of personality. Okay, so types of personality. First is Jung's classification, second is Friedman's classification, third is Holland's classification. Now, Jungian classification, they categorized into four types of personality: thinking, feeling, sensation, and intuition. Thinking is leads to logic, is related to logic. Feeling is related to emotion. Sensation is related to facts. Intuition is related to going beyond facts. So, first, thinking and feeling based on logic and emotions are rational and judging personality. and sensational and intuition are irrational and perceiving personality. Next is Friedman classification. Friedman man type. There are two kind of man, type A and type B. Type A is always moving, impatient in nature, measures success by quantity, aggressive and competitive in nature, and they feel time pressure a lot. Type B is they are never in hurry, they are patient and they play for fun, not for win. They are mild mannered and they are not pressing for any deadlines. Third is Holland's classification. They told us there are six traits and these traits are mostly opposite of each other in the chart. So for example, realistic person, the doer, they enjoy working with their hands, and opposite person will be social, the helper. They're interested in helping and getting along with people. Investigative person, a thinker, they like to explore and understand things and events, is opposite to enterprising. Persuader, they like to persuade and direct others. Artistic, like the creator, they create original and good imagination, are the opposite of conventional. Organizer, they follow routines and orders. So these are the types of personalities. Now, what are the personality traits which affect the behavior? Um, so for this big five personality trait theory was given. This is the ocean model. In this, each trait has their high and low point. Like leads to openness. This tells us imagination and insight. A very creative personality. They are focused on tackling new challenges, meaning they are open to new challenges. See, conscientiousness. They spend time preparing, they finish important tasks right away and pay attention to detail. They enjoy having a set schedule. Se- Third is extroversion. They enjoy being the center of attention and they like to start conversation. Next is agreeableness. They agree to people easily and given to their demands. Next is neuroticism. This is emotional stability. These are the people who take a lot of stress and worry a lot. Their low value is desired only for this trait. Okay, so yeah. Neuroticism is only desired, like low value of neuroticism is desired in a manager, and other than all the OCEA, high value of these personalities are desired in a person. Now, what are the limitations of this theory? This theory tells us this is a the research was done in US US citizens and not Indian citizens, so this might not be valid cross culturally, and also more than five traits can be there. It's just this. Now, a few other traits other than the five big personality traits are grit. It was introduced by Duckworth et al. And it was seen in Dhirubhai Ambani. Next is core self-evaluation. Next is narcissism. Next is self-monitoring, proactivity, which was seen in Ratan Tata. Tolerance for ambiguity, it was seen in Jack Welch. Work orientation, it was seen in Narayan Murthy. Risk prosperity, it was seen in Warren Buffett and Muhammad Ali. Machiavellianism. Machiavellianism, or I don't know, it means manipulation of others to achieve a specific goal. This is seen in politicians. Now, what are the dark triad of personality traits? There are three traits which are not desired in people. First is Machiavellianism, meaning manipulating others to achieve a goal. Narcissism, meaning being very self-absorbed, and psychopathy. So that is all. Now, how can we measure personality? There are the four methods. Yeah. First is projective method. They offer a response to ambiguous scene, and this the goal of this is to uncover hidden conflicts. First is Rorschach ink plot test, and second is thematic appreciation test. Now, second is personality inventories. In this, three kind of indicators are tests are taken. First is Minnesota Multiphasic Personality Inventory (MMPI). This contains 50 items, each having three answers: true, false, and not known. Based on this, personality is determined. 16 personality questionnaire. 16 PFQ. There are 16 personality factor questions. Next is Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, in which 16 personality types in terms of four dimensions are there. For the four dimensions are extroversion versus introversion, EI, Sensing versus intuition, SI. Thinking versus feeling, TF. Judgment versus perception, JP. Next is interview method. Like we can take two types of interview: exhaustive interview or stress interview. Next is case history method, based on the history of that person. Next is based on observing that person, observation method. These were the five types in which we can determine someone's personality. Now, okay, what is perception? Perception is the process through which an individual organizes and interprets his sensory impression. This can be internal or external. Sensation, this is a part of perception because the former is the first stage of the later. First stage of experience is stimulation. Okay. Now, what is a perceptual process? The perceptual inputs create a perceptual mechanism and we get outputs. The perceptual inputs are the stimuli. They can be objective, event, or people. The perceptual mechanism is receiving the stimuli, selecting, organizing, and interpreting the stimuli. The outputs can be actions, meaning attitude, opinions, feelings, or values. Now, what is perceptual selectivity? This can be external or external. Internal can be self-concept, belief, inner needs and expectations, and external can be size, intensity, repetition, and contrast. Perceptual organization, figure ground, people treat, and next is factors which lead to distortion in perception. There are three factors: perceiver, like factors in perceiver, or they can be factors in perceived, or situational factors. Factors in perceiver can be their mental state or personality. Factors in person perceived can be their status or visibility of few traits. Now, what are the distortion in perception? Like which factors could create a distortion? First is selective perception. You only see the traits you want to see. Second is first impression. Third is halo effect, in which one trait is used to make overall judgment about that person. Fourth is contrast effect. One trait is gets highlighted more. Fifth is stereotyping. Sixth is projection, like projection of your own personality on that person. Seventh is perceptual set, like previously held beliefs about that person. Eighth is implicit personality, associating one trait with another. Ninth is expectancy. That is all. Next is emotional intelligence and interpersonal behavior. Now, affect is a general term covering broad range of feelings, including both mood and emotion. Emotions are intense feeling directed at someone or something. Mood are less intense feeling, and they often arouse without a specific event or acting as a stimulator. A person may express his emotion, but not his mood. Emotion may last for only the time being, but mood may last longer. And emotion is more intense than mood. Now, few of the basic emotions are anger, fear, sadness, happiness, disgust, and surprise. More moral emotions are emotions that have moral implications because of our instant judgment of a situation that evokes them, like anger due to injustice. Emotions make our thinking more rational because it gives us an idea of how we view the world. Emotional labor is displaying emotions for a job. Emotional dissonance is difference between felt and displays emotion. Affective event theory (AET), given by Howard M. Weiss and Russell Cropanso. This model explains how moods and emotions influence job performance and satisfaction. Emotional intelligence is ability to perceive, control, and evaluate emotions, and they can be learned with time. There are four levels of emotional intelligence: perceiving the emotion, reasoning with the emotion, understanding the emotion, and managing emotions. Now, the components of emotional intelligence are divided into self and social, and recognition and regulation. If someone has self recognition, meaning they are self aware; social recognition, meaning they have socially aware; self regulation, meaning they have self management; and social regulation, meaning they have social skills. Now, the components of mental intelligence (IQ) are uh, linguistic intelligence, logical or mathematical intelligence, bodily kinesthetic, meaning body sensations, spatial intelligence relating to images and pictures, musical intelligence, interpersonal intelligence, Intrapersonal intelligence, meaning good at understanding own feelings, and naturalist, like people who connect with nature. Okay. So, what are few types of interpersonal behavior? These are aggressive, non-assertive, and assertive. Aggressive behavior is when you stand up for yourself but you violate others' rights. Non-assertive is when you let your rights to be violated, and assertive is you stand up for your rights, not at the expense of others. What is transactional analysis? This is the method of analyzing and understanding interpersonal behavior. This was derived developed by Eric Berne, later popularized by Harris and John Gawad. It has seven factors. So these are the seven factors in transactional analysis. First is self-awareness. A Johari window. Johari window was developed by Joseph Lift and Harrington Ingram to know about self-awareness. Like this is known to self, known to other, not known to self, and known to others and not known to others. If you have some a If a trait is known to self as well as to others, then it is open area or arena. It is public area. If it is not known to self but known to others, then it is blind spot. If it is not known to others but known to self, then it is hidden area or facade. If it is not known to self and not known to others as well, it is unknown self. Next is ego states. Bunny told three ego states are there. First is parent ego, next is adult ego, then is child ego. Parent ego are overprotective and message to regulate one's behavior. They can be either nurturing or critical. Adult ego is they give logical, reasoning, and rational answers. Child ego is responding emotionally. Next is analyzing transaction. There can be three types of transaction. Complementary transaction, like nine types are there. Adult, 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 child, parent, child, adult, parent, 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 adult, or child, parent, child, adult, child, child. There can be non-complementary or cross transaction as well, like with people of not your level of emotional intelligence. There can be alternate transaction, like when two ego states working at the same time with double meaning in the same stimulation, like diplomatic circles. Next is script analysis. It is when confronted with a situation, a person acts according to his script. Next is life position. This is a combination of assumptions about a person, about yourself and other person. Like this can be four types. You're okay with me, I'm not okay with me, you are not okay with me, I'm okay with me. The combination of this four, like I am not okay and you are okay. In this, one is down and one is underconfident. Another is I am okay, you are okay. This is a healthy person and this is mostly desirable. This is an adult ego state as well. I'm not okay, you are not okay. This is a hopeless person and suicidal. I am okay, you are not okay. This is one opposition and this is theory X. Next is stroking. Stroking is recognition for good or bad work done. This leads to positive or negative motivation. Next is psychological games. These are the games which provoke action and dream triangle script. As told by Cartman, three roles play while playing psychological games. First are prosecutors, victims, or rescuers. Prosecutors are they make unrealistic rules and they tell that I am okay, you are only not okay. Next is victim. They tell that I am not okay and you are okay. Second is rescuers. They are the helpful person. Okay. So these were basically the transactional analysis. They analyze and understand their interpersonal behavior. So the factors were self-awareness, ego states, analyzing transaction, script analysis, life position, stroking, and psychological gains. Now, what is fundamental interpersonal relationship orientation behavior? FIDO B. This tells us that all people want to feel significant, competent, and likable, and all people fear feeling ignored, humiliated, and rejected. So all people have behavior preferences about being included, inclusion, control, and openness, and people try to satisfy this, like inclusion, control, and openness. Next is The comparison with manage managerial grade of Blake and Morton. Like in Blake and Morton, the 9-1 authority compliance grid uh, can be related to parent-child here. The 1-9 country club can be related to child ego of a manager, and 9-9 team is when the manager from adult and uses parent or child ego state most desirable. This is the adult-adult transaction. Okay. Now, what's conflict? Conflict is disagreement or misunderstanding due to different facts, methods, and values and goals. There can be reasons for conflicts like unclear responsibility, interpersonal relationship, scarcity of resources, conflict of interest, managerial expectations, communication disruption, misunderstanding structure, and personal variables. There are types of conflicts based on locus of conflict, can be individual level, group level, or organizational level. So individual level is when within a single person, like within that person or within different individuals, like role conflict or okay. So individual level can be so within a single person or a group of individuals. So first is intrapersonal or intra-individual. This can be role conflict or goal conflict. Goal conflict can be approach, avoidance, and approach avoidance. Interpersonal and inter-individual is vertical conflict or horizontal conflict. This causes the nature of person and situation. Okay, so this is caused by a nature of person or the situational variable. Nature of person may be ego, value system, or socio-cultural factors, and situational factors may be interest conflicts and role ambiguity. Now, group level conflict can be intra-group or intergroup. The reasons might be goal incompatibility. Like okay, so intergroup, like intergroup, the reasons can be goal incompatibility, resource sharing, and task relationship. Now, at organizational level, it can be intra-organization or inter-organization. Now, there can be types of conflict based on effects. Effects mean the functional and dysfunctional effect. Functional effect improve your performance and dysfunctional effect hinder the task. Like the greater the performance and the lower the so, okay, performance and medium level of conflict is known as functional conflict. It is good conflict. And low performance and low level of conflict, as well as high level of conflict and low performance, are known as dysfunctional conflict. They hinder the task. Okay. Now, conflict types of conflict based on disagreement is task conflict, relationship conflict, and process conflict. Task conflict is functional if it is low to moderate for goals. Relationship conflict, they focus on interpersonal relationships and they are mostly dysfunctional. Process conflict is how work gets done, and like when the conflict is about how the work is getting done, and it is functional when it is low to moderate. Okay, that's all. Now, what are the stages of conflict? Latent, like subconscious conflict in your mind. Then it is perceived when you perceive slowly that some conflict is going to happen. Felt is same. Manifest is when you manifest the conflict, and conflict afterward, aftermath, meaning the process happening after the conflict. Now, the process of conflict. Okay, so it can be potential of there are 5 stages of conflict, like 5 stages in the process of conflict. First is potential opposition or incompatibility. This is the latent stage, cognition and personalization. This is the perceived and felt stage, intention. This is the conflict handling intention. This can be competing or collaborating or avoiding or accommodating or compromising. Fourth is behavior and then outcome, meaning the conflict aftermath. Now, the conflict resolution can be done meaning curative measures for conflict resolution are there are 5 stages. No, there are 5 strategies given by Kenneth Thomas and Ralph Kilman, based on assertiveness and cooperativeness. If someone is unassertive as well as uncooperative, this means they are avoiding the situation and both of them will lose. This is a lose-lose situation. If someone is cooperative but unassertive, this means they are too much accommodating and one person will win and one person will lose. If someone is extremely assertive but are uncooperative, then means they are very competing in nature and only one person can win. If someone is collaborating, no, if someone is assertive as well as cooperative, that means they are collaborating in nature and then both can win. If someone is medium assertive and a bit cooperative as well, then they are compromising in nature, and this also leads to a lose-lose kind of situation. Next is negotiation. Negotiation can be done in three ways, like distributive bargaining, in which one party gains only if the other party loses. This is zero sum negotiation because assets are fixed. Each party has a target point and resistance or walkaway point. Next is integrative bargaining. This is interest based bargaining or win win bargaining. In this, parties collaborate and create a long term relationship. Next is others like productivity composite concessionary bargaining, like composite meaning elements are not subjected to pay. Concessional bargaining meaning trade unions will fight for rights of their or fight for rights or other benefits or concessions. Next is negotiation process. This is done in five steps: preparing and planning, like BATNA, the best alternative to a negotiated agreement; definition of ground rules; clarification and justification; bargain and problem solve; conclude and implement. Now, third party negotiations. This is when a group reaches statement and are able. Third party negotiation is when a group reaches a stalemate and are unable to resolve, and these third party negotiators help them find a solution. This can be mediator, arbitrator, or conciliator. Mediator are neutral third party people who use reasoning and persuasion. Arbitrator dictates on an agreement and can be requested by parties or may be forced due to a law or contract. Conciliator are they provide an informational communication link and also engage in fact finding, etc. At ground level, they act as a mediator only.